The part is 2 inches long, 2 inches, the length of a thumb, the weight of a quarter. The part, a precision coupling sleeve, machined from 4140 chromoly steel, bored to a tolerance of plus or minus 2/10,000ths of an inch, is the size of nothing and the value of everything. The coupling sleeve connects the hydraulic actuator to the control valve in a pneumatic braking system used by every Class 8 heavy truck manufactured in North America. Every truck, every braking system. Every load of freight that moves on every highway across the continent stops safely, reliably, repeatedly, because this 2-inch part exists, and because this 2-inch part works, and because this 2-inch part was designed by a man who operates a CNC lathe on the night shift at a factory in Akron, Ohio, and who earns $22.40 per hour, and who has never seen a royalty check, and who does not have his name on the patent, and who does not appear in the company's innovation history, and who is, in every measurable way, invisible to the company that his invention made possible. The part generates 43% of the company's revenue. 43%. The company generates $316 million in annual revenue. 43% of $316 million is $135.9 million. The man who designed the part earns $46,592 per year before taxes. The ratio, $135.9 million in revenue to $46,592 in wages, is 2,918 to 1. The part produces 2,918 times the wage of the person who invented the part. The ratio is not unusual in manufacturing. The ratio is the math of industry. The math that separates the invention from the inventor, the creation from the creator, the value from the person who created the value. The machinist's name is Porter Ganaway. He is 46 years old. He has worked at Harman Precision Manufacturing for 21 years. He operates a Mazak Integrex E200 SCNC turning center on the night shift, the 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shift, the shift that the factory calls third and that the machinists call the dark, because the dark is both the condition of the hours and the condition of the visibility, the way the night shift exists in the company's awareness, which is, dimly, peripherally, as the shift that produces while the company sleeps. Porter designed the coupling sleeve in 2009. He designed it not because anyone asked him to, nobody asked him. Nobody requested it. Nobody submitted a project brief or a design specification or an R&D proposal. Porter designed it because the existing coupling sleeve failed. The existing sleeve, a 3-piece assembly sourced from a supplier in Guangzhou, failed at a rate of 1.7% under thermal cycling. 1.7%. In pneumatic braking systems, 1.7% failure is not an acceptable failure rate because the failure is not an inconvenience. The failure is a brake that does not engage, and a truck that does not stop, and a load that does not decelerate, and the 1.7% is the probability that someone dies. Porter saw the failure in the returns. He worked the night shift, and the night shift processes the warranty returns, the parts that come back from the field, the parts that failed, the parts that the day shift sends to the recycling bin, and that the night shift disassembles and catalogs before recycling. Porter disassembled the failed couplings. Porter saw the failure mode. The O-ring seat in the middle section of the 3-piece assembly was eccentric by 0.006 of an inch. A concentricity error introduced by the assembly process, the tolerance stack-up that occurs when 3 parts are joined and each part carries its own tolerance, and the combined tolerance exceeds the specification. Porter's solution was a single piece, 1 part instead of 3. A monolithic coupling sleeve machined from a single bar of 4140 chromoly. No assembly, no tolerance stack-up, no O-ring seat eccentricity. The single piece eliminated the failure mode the way a bridge eliminates a river crossing, by replacing the problem with a structure. Porter designed the part on a napkin. Porter programmed the CNC on a Tuesday night. Porter machined the first prototype on Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. Porter tested the prototype against the 3-piece assembly. The prototype survived 14,000 thermal cycles. The 3-piece assembly failed at 8,200. Porter brought the prototype to his supervisor. The supervisor brought it to the plant manager. The plant manager brought it to the VP of engineering. The VP of engineering brought it to the CEO. The coupling sleeve went into production 7 months later. The coupling sleeve replaced the 3-piece assembly in every pneumatic braking system that Harman manufactured. The coupling sleeve reduced the warranty return rate from 1.7% to 0.03%. The coupling sleeve became the reason that every Class 8 truck manufacturer in North America specified Harman Precision as the sole source for braking system couplings. The coupling sleeve became 43% of the revenue. The coupling sleeve made the company. Porter received a $500 bonus, $500, for a part that generates $135.9 million per year. The $500 was presented at a plant meeting. A brief ceremony, a handshake, a certificate of recognition printed on cardstock with the company logo and the words Innovation Award and Porter's name and the date and the signature of the plant manager. The certificate is in Porter's locker. The patent, U.S. patent number 8,714,563, is in the company's name. Porter is not listed as the inventor. The VP of engineering is listed as the inventor. The VP of engineering did not design the coupling sleeve. The VP of engineering did not program the CNC. The VP of engineering did not machine the prototype at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday. The VP of engineering submitted the patent application with his own name because the company's intellectual property policy states that all inventions created by employees during the course of employment are the property of the company, and the company determines the named inventor, and the company named the VP of engineering because the VP of engineering presented the part to the patent attorney, and the patent attorney asked, "Who invented this?" And the VP of engineering said, "I did," and the attorney wrote his name on the application, and the application was filed, and the patent was granted, and the patent says, "The VP of engineering invented the coupling sleeve," and the patent is a legal document, and the legal document is a lie. The CEO's name is Denton Harman. He is 62 years old. He is the CEO and second-generation owner of Harman Precision Manufacturing. Harman Precision is his inheritance. His father, Boyd, started the company in 1971 with a single manual lathe in a garage on Triplet Boulevard in Akron, the garage that became a shop, and the shop that became a factory, and the factory that became a 186,000-square-foot facility that employs 640 people and that generates $316 million in annual revenue and that manufactures precision-machined components for the automotive, aerospace, defense, and heavy truck industries. Boyd Harman was a machinist. Boyd Harman was a machinist the way Porter Ganaway is a machinist, the hands-on, metal-cutting, tolerance-holding, chip-making kind of machinist who understands the relationship between the tool and the material the way a surgeon understands the relationship between the scalpel and the tissue. Boyd operated his own machines until he was 54, until the company grew large enough that the operating of the machines was replaced by the managing of the people who operated the machines, the transition from craftsman to executive that every founder makes when the company outgrows the founder's hands. Boyd made the transition reluctantly. Boyd missed the lathe. Boyd died at 71 with metal shavings in the cuffs of his dress pants because he visited the shop floor every day, and the shop floor is where the shavings live, and the shavings attached themselves to Boyd the way the shop attached itself to Boyd, permanently, molecularly, as a condition of who he was. Denton remembers the shop floor. He remembers it the way a person remembers a childhood home that was later remodeled. The bones are familiar, but the surfaces are different. He remembers standing at Boyd's hip when he was 9 years old, watching his father cut threads on a manual lathe, the LeBlond engine lathe with the green paint and the hand wheels, and the way Boyd's left hand rode the cross-slide feed with the specific pressure of a man who could feel the cut through the metal, through the tool, through the hand wheel, through his fingers. Boyd taught Denton to read a micrometer when he was 11. Boyd taught Denton to indicate a vise when he was 13. Boyd gave Denton his first machining project when he was 15, a steel paperweight, a simple cylinder with a chamfer on both ends and a bore through the center, a part that required 3 setups and 4 tools, and that Denton machined over the course of a Saturday afternoon while Boyd stood behind him and said nothing, because saying nothing was Boyd's teaching method, the method that allowed the student to fail and to learn from the failure and to develop the sensory calibration that no textbook can transmit. Denton kept the paperweight on his desk through college. He kept it through Harvard Business School. He kept it on his desk at Harman Precision for the first 5 years of his tenure as CEO. Then, the desk was redesigned. The interior designer who refreshed the executive suite said the paperweight didn't fit the aesthetic, and Denton put it in a drawer, and the drawer was the beginning of the distance between Denton and the shop floor, the physical object that was the first thing to be moved from the visible to the invisible, from the desk to the drawer, from the machinist's son to the MBA. Boyd noticed. Boyd never said anything about the paperweight. But Denton noticed that Boyd noticed, and the noticing was the conversation they didn't have, and the conversation they didn't have was about more than a paperweight. It was about what Denton valued, and what Denton displayed, and what Denton put away, and what getting put away meant. Boyd died 7 years ago. The metal shavings stopped appearing in anyone's cuffs. The shop floor lost its daily visitor. The night shift, which Boyd sometimes walked through at 2 a.m., because Boyd was an insomniac who paced the factory the way other insomniacs paced their kitchens. The night shift lost the only executive who had ever stood at their machines and asked, "What are you making tonight?" Denton is not Boyd. Denton is the MBA. Denton is the Harvard Business School case study, the financial engineering, the supply chain optimization, the margin management that a second-generation owner brings to a first-generation company. Denton grew the revenue from $47 million to $316 million in 18 years. Denton did this through acquisition and diversification and the specific financial architecture that produces growth. The leveraged purchases, the product line extensions, the customer concentration strategy that made Harman the sole source for braking couplings in the Class 8 market. Denton is good at the business. Denton has not operated a machine in 23 years. Denton does not visit the shop floor every day. Denton's pants do not have metal shavings in the cuffs. The night shift audit report arrived 5 weeks ago. The report was not a satisfaction survey. It was an operational audit, the kind that measures output and efficiency and utilization rates. But buried in the appendix was a note from the auditor. Night shift morale appears significantly depressed. Multiple operators expressed feelings of being overlooked relative to day shift operations. Recommend follow-up. The note was 3 sentences. The note was in an appendix. The note was the kind of observation that a company can read or not read, and that a CEO can act on or not act on, and that Denton almost did not act on because the note was in an appendix, and the appendix is the part of the report that executives skip. But Denton read the appendix. Denton read the appendix because Boyd who is dead, Boyd who's not here, Boyd whose metal shavings are no longer in anyone's cuffs, Boyd used to say, "The appendix is where they hide the truth because they know you won't read it." "Join the night shift," said Kendrick Pike, the VP of Operations, a man who had been a setup technician before moving into management and who understood the machines and the people who operated the machines, and who knew that the night shift was not the day shift in the dark but a different culture entirely, a culture that operated with less supervision and less visibility and less recognition, and that produced, quietly, in the hours between 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., approximately 38% of the factory's output. Join the night shift, run a machine, make chips, see what the dark looks like. The morale issue could be addressed through a survey, Denton said. A town hall, a compensation review. You could do those things from this office, and they would tell you what people say when they know the CEO is listening. They would not tell you what people say when they think no one is listening. The night shift thinks no one is listening because no one has been listening. You want to know why morale is depressed? Sit next to the depression. Operate the machine next to the man who is depressed. Make parts in the dark. See what depressed feels like at 3 a.m. when you're holding a micrometer, and the factory is humming and the company is sleeping, and the sleeping company is dreaming about the revenue that you are producing in the dark. Kendrick handed Denton a pair of safety glasses, a set of steel-toed boots, and a badge. The badge said, Dean Fry, Operator, CNC Lathe, 3rd Shift. The cover story, a transfer from the Mansfield satellite plant. Kendrick made the arrangements with the night shift supervisor. Only 2 people would know. "When was the last time you touched a machine?" Kendrick asked. 23 years. Your father would have asked why. My father asked a lot of things I didn't answer. The night shift will answer things you don't ask. That's the difference between a survey and a shift. A survey tells you the problems. A shift shows you the people. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from today, because this is the story of a CEO who joined the night shift at his own factory, and the man he met there invented the part that built his empire. Subscribe to Untold Hearts, because these are the stories that the night shift never gets to tell. Monday, 10:45 p.m. The factory floor at night is a different factory. The same machines, the Mazaks and the Haas mills and the Okuma lathes and the grinding centers, the 137 CNC machines that constitute Harman's production capability. The same machines operate at night, but the operation is different. The lights are different. The overhead bays are at 60%, the energy-saving protocol that the facilities department implemented 3 years ago to reduce the electric bill, and that reduces the light on the night shift to a level that the day shift would not tolerate, but that the night shift tolerates because the night shift tolerates everything, because the night shift is not asked, and the not asking is the condition. Denton's badge says, Dean Fry, Operator, CNC Lathe, 3rd Shift. The cover, a new hire transferred from the Mansfield satellite plant. Only Kendrick and the night shift supervisor know. The night shift supervisor is Orrin Peltz. Orrin has been the night shift supervisor for 14 years. Orrin manages 167 operators across 3 production areas, turning, milling, and grinding. Orrin manages them with the specific leadership style that the night shift produces, which is autonomy. Orrin trusts the operators because the operators are experienced. The night shift attracts the experienced machinists, the ones who have been in the trade long enough that the premium pay of the night differential, $1.80 per hour above base, is worth the biological cost of working while the body wants to sleep. The night shift machinists are the veterans. The night shift machinists are the people who know the machines the way Boyd knew the machines, with the hands, with the ears, with the specific sensory intelligence that a machinist develops over years of listening to the spindle and watching the chip and feeling the vibration that tells the machinist whether the cut is good or the cut is about to fail. Orrin meets Denton at the employee entrance, the side door, the door that the night shift uses because the main entrance is locked after 6 p.m., and the night shift enters through the side and exits through the side. And the side is the metaphor, and the metaphor is the condition. The night shift enters the company sideways, through the peripheral door, into the peripheral visibility. "You're the transfer," Orrin says. He does not extend his hand. He looks at Denton's boots, the steel toes that are brand new, the soles that have never collected shavings, the leather that has never absorbed cutting oil. Orrin's boots are 14 years old. The leather is black with oil. The soles are thin from 14 years of standing on concrete. The boots tell the story of the man before the man says a word. "New boots," Orrin says. "New assignment," Denton replies. The night shift doesn't get transfers. The night shift gets people who asked for nights because they have a second job, or people who were assigned to nights because there was nowhere else to put them, or people who've been here so long that nights is where they live. Which one are you? Nowhere else to put me. Orrin almost smiles. That's what the night shift is, where they put the people they don't know where to put. Come on, I'll show you to your machine. The walk through the factory at 11 p.m. is the walk that Denton has not taken in decades, and that Boyd took every night, and that the distance between Boyd's walk and Denton's walk is the distance between a man who knew his factory by touch and a man who knows his factory by spreadsheet. The machines are running, 137 CNC stations, the Mazaks and the Haas mills and the Okuma lathes and the grinding centers, the production capability of Harman Precision running at 60% lighting, because the facilities department dimmed the overheads 3 years ago to reduce the electric bill. And because the night shift did not complain, because the night shift does not complain, because complaining requires the belief that someone is listening, and the night shift does not believe that anyone is listening. Porter's station is lathe 7, the Mazak Integrex, the turning center that can mill and drill and turn and bore in a single setup, the machine that Porter has operated for 12 years, and that Porter knows the way a musician knows an instrument. Porter's already running when Denton arrives, already making parts, already producing the coupling sleeves that generate $135.9 million, the 2-inch parts emerging from the bar stock at a rate of 1 every 4 minutes and 18 seconds, the rhythm of production that Porter maintains for 8 hours, 112 parts per shift, 560 parts per week, the output of a single man on a single machine that constitutes the beating heart of the company's revenue. "You're the new guy?" Porter says. He is watching the machine, not looking at Denton, watching the machine, the specific attention of a machinist who monitors the cut by sound and by chip color and by the micro vibration that the machine transmits through the floor and into the machinist's feet. The machinist's feet are sensors. The machinist's ears are sensors. The machinist's entire body is a quality control instrument calibrated by 21 years of making parts. "I'm the new guy." "You run a lathe before?" "A long time ago." "How long?" 23 years. Porter looks at him for the first time. 23 years since you touched a machine and they put you on the night shift. That's either a punishment or a story. If this story has touched your heart, take a moment to share it and subscribe to Untold Hearts, because sometimes the person who invented the product is still running the machine that makes it. Day 2. The part, between cycles, the 4 minutes and 18 seconds during which the Mazak machines, the coupling sleeve and the operator waits and monitors, and the waiting is the time in which conversation occurs, because the conversation fills the cycle time the way water fills a container, occupying the space that the production creates. Porter tells the story of the part. He tells it without drama. He tells it the way machinists tell stories about their work, technically, precisely, with the vocabulary of the trade, the language of feeds and speeds and tolerances and material properties that is simultaneously the most specific language in the factory and the most invisible language in the company. Because the language is spoken on the shop floor, and the shop floor is where the language stays. "The 3-piece was junk," he says. "I saw it in the returns. Night shift processes the returns. Did you know that? Day shift makes the parts. Night shift makes the parts and processes the returns. We see what fails. We see why it fails. We hold the dead parts in our hands and we read the failure the way a coroner reads a body. Cause of death, contributing factors, the story of how the part lived and how the part died. The 3-piece coupling died from concentricity. The O-ring seat was 6/1000ths off. 6/1000ths. You can't see 6/1000ths. You can measure it, but you can't see it. But 6/1000ths in an O-ring seat produces an asymmetric compression on the seal, and the asymmetric compression produces a leak path, and the leak path produces a failure, and the failure produces a brake that doesn't hold, and a truck that doesn't stop. He opens his toolbox, the Kennedy machinist's chest, the multi-drawer rolling cabinet that every machinist maintains and that contains the personal tools and the gauges and the fixtures that are the machinist's professional kit, the physical investment that a machinist makes in the trade and that the machinist carries from job to job the way a surgeon carries instruments. In the top drawer, wrapped in a shop rag, is the prototype, the first coupling sleeve, machined at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday in 2009. The first one, the original, the part that became the patent, that became the product, that became 43% of the revenue, that became the reason every Class 8 truck in North America uses Harman couplings. The prototype is in Porter's toolbox. The prototype has been in Porter's toolbox for 16 years. The prototype is the artifact, the physical evidence of the invention, the 2-inch piece of chromoly steel that Porter machined on this machine, on lathe 7, on the Mazak Integrex, on the night shift, in the dark. I designed it on a napkin. I programmed it that night. I machined it the next morning, 3 a.m., the middle of the shift, the time when the factory is quietest because the machines are all cycling and the operators are in their rhythm, and the rhythm is the hum, and the hum is the sound of production. I machined the first one in this machine. Lathe 7. I ran the program, and I watched the tool cut the profile, and I watched the part emerge from the bar, and I caught it in my hand when the cutoff cycle released it, and I held it, and I measured it. bore diameter, plus or minus 2/10, OD, concentricity, surface finish. It was perfect. The first one was perfect. That never happens. The first one is always wrong. Always needs adjustment, always needs a tweak, a compensation, a correction. The first coupling sleeve was perfect because I had been thinking about it for 3 months, running the program in my head, machining the part in my imagination before I machined it in the metal. The part existed in my mind before it existed in the world. And the patent? Porter closes the toolbox. He closes it the way a person closes a door on a room they don't want to enter, deliberately, with the specific force of a boundary being set. The patent is in the company's name. The inventor listed on the patent is Lloyd Briscoe, the VP of Engineering. Lloyd Briscoe did not design the coupling sleeve. Lloyd Briscoe did not program the CNC. Lloyd Briscoe did not machine the prototype. Lloyd Briscoe received my supervisor's report, and my supervisor's report included my name and my design and my test data, and Lloyd Briscoe presented the part to the patent attorney, and the patent attorney asked who invented it, and Lloyd Briscoe said he did. I know this because my supervisor, it's Orrin, the man who walked you through the door tonight. Orrin told me. Orrin was in the room. Orrin heard Lloyd say it. Orrin said nothing because Orrin is a night shift supervisor and Lloyd is a VP, and the distance between a night shift supervisor and a VP is the distance between the appendix and the executive summary. The same document, different visibility, different weight. Did you fight it? Fight it with what? A lawyer? A lawyer costs money I don't have. HR? HR works for the company. The company owns the patent. The company named the inventor. The system produced the outcome that the system was designed to produce. The value moves up, the credit moves up, the money moves up, the part moves up. The person who made the part stays on the night shift. If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second, costs nothing, and helps Untold Hearts reach more people who need to hear it. Back to the story. Day 3. The math. The coupling sleeve cycles, 4 minutes and 18 seconds. The Mazak hums. The chips curl from the tool in the precise helical geometry that indicates a good cut. The golden spiral of metal removal, the aesthetic byproduct of a process that is simultaneously industrial and beautiful. The beauty that machinists see and that the company does not see because the beauty is on the shop floor and the shop floor is the appendix. $22.40 an hour, Porter says. 21 years and $22.40. I started at $14.75. 21 years produced a $7.65 raise, 36 cents per year, but the 36 cents isn't the number. The number is the ratio. My coupling sleeve generates $135.9 million a year. I earn $46,592 a year. The ratio is 2,918 to 1. For every dollar I earn, my part earns the company $2,918. I'm not asking for $135 million. I'm asking for the ratio to be something a person can look at without feeling like the ratio is a joke. 2,918 to 1. That's not a compensation ratio. That's a punchline. He checks the part, pulls it from the machine, measures it with a micrometer, the practiced motion of a quality check that takes 8 seconds and that he performs 112 times per shift, and that constitutes the human quality assurance layer between the machine and the customer. The night differential is $1.80. You know what that means? It means the company values me sleeping during normal hours at $1.80. The company values me missing my son's baseball games at $1.80. The company values me being awake when my body wants to sleep at $1.80. The biological cost of the night shift, the circadian disruption, the increased risk of heart disease, the depression rates that are 33% higher for night shift workers. The company values all of that at $1.80 per hour. $1.80. The cost of a candy bar from the vending machine in the break room. The company values my health at the price of a Snickers. Do you have family? My wife Jessamine and my son Alden. Jessamine works part-time at a dental office, scheduling, insurance claims, the administrative machinery of teeth. She took the part-time position when Alden was born, because someone had to be home during the day and someone had to work the night, and the someone who worked the night was me, because the night differential was $1.80, and the $1.80 was the difference between covering the mortgage and not covering the mortgage. And the mortgage is the math that determines who works when and who sees the kid and who misses the kid, and the missing is the cost that the differential does not compensate. He pauses. The machine cycles. 4 minutes and 18 seconds of the coupling sleeve being born from the bar stock, while Porter tells the story of the family that the coupling sleeve supports and does not adequately support. Jessamine puts dinner on the table at 5:30. I eat dinner at 5:30. I leave for work at 10. She goes to bed at 10:30. I come home at 7:30 in the morning. She's already at the dental office. I sleep from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I wake up and she's making dinner. I eat dinner. I leave. The loop. The loop is 21 years old. The loop is the structure of a marriage that operates on a night shift schedule, which means the marriage operates in the margins, the 2 hours between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m., when both of us are awake and in the same house and present. And the present is dinner and homework help, and the conversation about the day, and the conversation about the night, and the conversations are compressed into the margins the way the parts are compressed into the tolerances, everything fitting, everything tight, no room for error, no room for excess. Alden is 17. Alden is a junior. Alden wants to study mechanical engineering at Ohio State. Alden wants to design the things that I machine, wants to be on the other end of the process, the end where the design is drawn and the patent is filed, and the name on the patent is the name of the person who designed the part. Alden has seen what happens when the name isn't yours. Alden knows the coupling sleeve story. Alden knows that his father invented a part that generates $135 million, and that his father received $500 in a certificate, and that someone else's name is on the patent. Alden knows this because I told him, not as a grievance, but as a lesson. Design the thing and file the patent yourself, because if you let someone else carry your work upstairs, someone else's name goes on the paper. Ohio State engineering is what, $30,000 a year? $29,800 tuition for in-state, plus room, books, fees, roughly $47,000 per year. My take-home is about $36,400 after taxes and benefits. My wife works part-time at a dental office, $23,000 a year. Combined, $59,400. Mortgage, car, insurance, food, utilities, $52,000. The remaining $7,400 is the annual surplus. The annual surplus divided by the annual cost of Ohio State, 15.7%. My surplus covers 15.7% of 1 year of my son's education. My son wants to study engineering so he can design parts like the one I designed. The part I designed generates $135 million. I cannot afford to send my son to school to learn how to design the next one. If Untold Hearts has become part of your week, consider joining the channel membership. A few dollars a month keeps these stories coming. Links are in the description. Now, back to the story. Day 4. The others. The break room is a 12 by 20 room at the north end of the factory. The vending machines are from 2009, the same year as the coupling sleeve, the same year that Porter invented the part that generates $135 million, the same year that the company installed the vending machines, and the vending machines still dispense the same products at updated prices, and the vending machines have been maintained, and the break room has not been updated, and the not updating is the condition. The vending machines are serviced because a vendor has a contract and the break room is not updated, because no executive has visited the break room at 2 a.m., and no executive has sat in the plastic chair, and no executive has seen the fluorescent light that flickers in the corner, and the flickering is 3 years old, and the flickering has been reported, and the report is in the maintenance queue. And the maintenance queue prioritizes the day shift, because the day shift is when the executives walk the floor, and the executives see what the day shift shows them, and the day shift shows them the maintained, and the maintained is the visible. At 2 a.m., the break room is full. Night shift break is 15 minutes, not the 20 that day shift gets. Because the night shift production schedule is tighter, the production requirements are the same as day shift, but the staffing is lower, and the lower staffing means the break is shorter, and the shorter break means the conversation is compressed the way the marriage is compressed, everything tight, everything in the margins. Denton sits at a table with three machinists. He does not know their names yet, and they do not know his. Not his real name, not the name on the badge, not the name that matters. The machinists are talking about a grinding wheel specification that changed 6 months ago. The new spec reduced wheel life by 30%. The machinists told their supervisor. The supervisor filed a report. The report went to procurement. Procurement did not respond because procurement operates on cost per unit, and the new spec is cheaper per unit, and the cheaper per unit is the metric, and the metric does not include the machinist's assessment of wheel life, because the machinist's assessment is qualitative, and the qualitative is the appendix, and nobody reads the appendix. I wrote a 3-page analysis, says a machinist named Hewitt, a grinding operator with 27 years, a man whose hands are the color of the coolant that he has washed off his skin for 27 years, a greenish tint in the creases of his knuckles that is permanent, molecular, the chemical autobiography of a career. 3 pages, wheel life data, cost comparison including changeover time, downtime projections. I gave it to Orrin. Orrin gave it to the plant manager. The plant manager said he'd look into it. That was 6 months ago. The looking into it is ongoing. The looking into it is the corporate synonym for the filing cabinet. My analysis is in a filing cabinet. My grinding wheels still wear out 30% faster. Another machinist, a woman named Ingrid, who operates a Haas F4 vertical mill and who's been on nights for 9 years, puts down her coffee. I redesigned a fixture for the aerospace housing last year. The existing fixture required 4 setups. My fixture requires 2, saves 11 minutes per part. I built a prototype on my own time, after the shift in the training area, using scrap material. I gave it to the day shift lead. The day shift lead looked at it and said, "We don't accept tooling changes from the floor without an engineering review." I asked for an engineering review. Engineering said they'd schedule it. That was 14 months ago. 14 months, Hewitt repeats. 11 minutes per part. How many parts? 8,000 per year. 11 minutes times 8,000 is 88,000 minutes, 1,467 hours, 37 weeks of production capacity. My fixture saves 37 weeks of production time per year, and the fixture is in my locker because engineering hasn't scheduled a review in 14 months. Denton drinks his coffee from the vending machine, the coffee that tastes like the year the vending machine was installed. And he listens, and the listening is the shift, and the shift is what Kendrick said it would be. The shift shows you the people, and the people show you the problems, and the problems are not in the audit report, and the problems are not in the appendix, and the problems are in the break room at 2 a.m. in the plastic chairs under the flickering fluorescent light that was reported 3 years ago. Day 5, the reveal. Friday. The shift ends at 7 a.m. The morning light is coming through the factory windows. The clear-story windows along the roofline that admit the first light of the day, the light that the night shift sees when the shift is ending and the body has been awake for 8 hours in the dark, and the light says, "The dark is over, the shift is over, the day is beginning for other people," Denton tells Porter at his station. Lathe 7. The Mazak is cycling, the last part of the shift, the coupling sleeve emerging from the bar, 4 minutes and 18 seconds. The rhythm that has been running all night and that will run tomorrow night and the next night and every night, because the part is 43% of the revenue and the revenue does not sleep. My name isn't Dean Fry. My name is Denton Harmon. I'm the CEO of Harmon Precision. The factory is quiet in the way that a factory is never quiet. The machines are running, the spindles are spinning, the parts are cycling, but the human sound, the conversation, the breath between 2 men standing at a lathe, that sound stops. The stopping is the silence inside the noise. Porter's holding the micrometer that measures the coupling sleeve to 2/10,000ths of an inch, the instrument of precision, the instrument of accuracy, the instrument that determines whether the part meets the specification that Porter wrote 16 years ago, and that the company produces 24 hours a day, and that the company's revenue depends on. He sets the micrometer on the bench. He sets it carefully. He sets it the way a machinist sets a precision instrument, with intention, with placement, with the care of a man who treats his tools better than his company treats him. "You're the CEO." "Yes." "Boyd's son." "Boyd's son." Porter looks at the machine. He looks at it for a long time. The Mazak is cycling, the coupling sleeve emerging from the bar, the tool cutting the profile, the chip curling, the part forming. The part he invented, the part that someone else patented, the part that made the company. The machine runs, and the machine doesn't know that the CEO is standing next to it, and the machine doesn't care, and the not caring is the machine's honesty. The machine treats the operator and the CEO the same way, which is make the part, hold the tolerance, cut the metal. Your father would have run a machine while he was here. Your father would have made parts. I know, I didn't. I watched. I listened. You heard the coupling sleeve. I heard the coupling sleeve. I heard about Hewitt's grinding wheel analysis. I heard about Ingrid's fixture that saves 37 weeks of production time. I heard about the break room lights. I heard about the night differential that values circadian disruption at the price of a candy bar. I heard all of it. And the patent. I heard about the patent. Porter picks up the micrometer. He measures the part. He records the measurement. He places the part in the completed bin, the bin that goes to shipping. The shipping that goes to the customer that puts the part in the braking system that stops the truck, the part that Porter invented. He has performed this motion, measure, record, place, 290,000 times. He performs it again. The ritual, the muscle memory, the practice of making the thing that made the company while the company does not acknowledge the making. I don't need you to feel bad about it. The feeling bad is 16 years old. The feeling bad happened, and then the feeling bad became the normal, and then the normal became the work. And the work is what I do. I come here, I run the machine, I make the part, I measure the part, I put it in the bin. 112 times per shift. I've made approximately 290,000 coupling sleeves, 290,000 copies of my own invention. I've held each one. I've measured each one. Each one is perfect because I made the first one perfect, and I programmed the machine to make them perfect, and the machine makes them perfect because I taught the machine what I know, and the machine doesn't forget. The machine remembers what I taught it. The company forgot who taught it. What do you need? 3 things. Put my name on the patent. I don't care about the legal. Assign joint inventorship. Amend the filing. Whatever the attorney says is possible. I need my name on the patent because the patent is the record, and the record should be accurate, and the record currently says that Lloyd Briscoe invented the coupling sleeve, and Lloyd Briscoe did not invent the coupling sleeve, and the inaccuracy is not an oversight, it's a theft, and the theft has been on file with the United States Patent and Trademark Office for 16 years. What else? Royalty. Not retroactive. I'm not trying to bankrupt the company. Going forward, a per-unit royalty on the coupling sleeve, 1 cent per part, 1 cent. The part sells for $11.40. 1 cent is 0.088% of the sale price. At current production volume, 1.47 million units per year, 1 cent per part is $14. $14,700. That's Alden's first semester at Ohio State. 1 cent per part that I invented sends my son to school to learn how to invent the next one. 1 cent. What else? The night shift. See us. The night shift makes 38% of the output. The night shift processes the returns. The night shift is where the coupling sleeve was born, at 3 a.m. on lathe 7, in the dark. The night shift is not the day shift with the lights down. The night shift is a different workforce with different needs and different problems. And the different is invisible because the executives work days. And the days are when the decisions are made, and the decisions are made without the night shift in the room. Put us in the room. Night shift representation at production meetings, night shift input on process changes, night shift visibility in the innovation pipeline, because the coupling sleeve came from the night shift, and the next coupling sleeve will come from the night shift, because the night shift is where the experienced machinists are, and the experienced machinists are where the innovation is, and the innovation is in the appendix, and nobody reads the appendix. The leadership meeting is Monday. Denton walks in carrying a coupling sleeve, the original prototype, the one from Porter's toolbox, the one machined at 3 a.m. in 2009, the first one, the perfect one, the 2-inch piece of chromoly steel that generates $135.9 million per year. This is the most valuable part in this company, he says. This part generates 43% of our revenue. This part is the reason every Class 8 truck manufacturer in North America uses Harman couplings. This part was invented by a man named Porter Ganaway. Porter is a machinist. Porter works the night shift. Porter has operated lathe 7 for 12 years. Porter designed this part in 2009. Porter machined this prototype at 3 a.m. on a Wednesday. This part, this 2-inch piece of steel that I'm holding, is the foundation of our company's market position, and Porter's name is not on the patent. He sets the part on the table. The patent lists Lloyd Briscoe as the inventor. Lloyd is the former VP of engineering. Lloyd did not design this part. Lloyd did not machine this prototype. Lloyd presented Porter's work to the patent attorney and told the attorney he invented it. Lloyd lied. The patent is a lie. We have been operating for 16 years on a patent that attributes the most important invention in our company's history to the wrong person. Silence around the table. The silence of executives who are calculating, not the moral cost, not yet, but the legal cost, the reputational cost, the stock and trade cost of acknowledging that the foundation of the company's revenue sits on a lie. The CFO, a man named Harlan Voss who has managed Harman's finances for 11 years, leans forward. Correcting the patent could open us to liability. If we acknowledge the misattribution, the inventor could claim retroactive compensation. At current revenue, the exposure could be. The exposure of not correcting it is higher. Denton interrupts. The exposure of not correcting it is a patent that can be invalidated. The exposure of not correcting it is that we built $135 million in annual revenue on a document that names the wrong inventor and that any competitor's attorney could use to challenge our position. The general counsel, a woman named Adair Schul, shifts in her chair. Correcting inventorship on an issued patent is possible under 35 U.S.C. 256. It requires filing a petition with the USPTO. The legal exposure from the misattribution is actually greater if we don't correct it. An improperly named inventor can be grounds for patent invalidation. So correcting the record protects the patent. Correcting the record protects the patent, protects the company, and names the actual inventor. The legal risk of not correcting it is significantly higher than the cost of correcting it. What about precedent, asks the VP of Human Resources. If we establish that shop floor employees can claim inventorship and receive royalties, we could be what? Incentivizing innovation from the people who operate the machines? The night shift produced the most valuable part in this company. The night shift also has a fixture sitting in a locker that saves 37 weeks of production time per year. The night shift also has a grinding wheel analysis that could save $340,000 annually. These are not costs. These are investments we have been refusing to make because the ideas come from the appendix and we don't read the appendix. Denton holds up the coupling sleeve again. This part was designed on a napkin, programmed on a Tuesday night, machined at 3 a.m. The man who made it earns $22.40 an hour and cannot afford to send his son to engineering school. The ratio is 2,918 to 1. $2,918 of revenue for every dollar of wages. I am not proposing charity. I am proposing accuracy, accurate attribution, accurate compensation, accurate recognition. The accuracy is the minimum. Patent correction. Harman files a petition under 35 U.S.C. 256 to add Porter Ganaway as co-inventor on U.S. patent number 8,714,563. The legal cost approximately $15,000. The patent protection preserved and strengthened. Porter's name appears on the patent that Porter's hands created. Innovation. Royalty program. Porter receives a per-unit royalty of 1 cent on every coupling sleeve produced. At current volume, 1.47 million units per year, the royalty is $14,700 annually. The royalty is also a precedent, the first per-unit royalty in Harman's history, the beginning of a program that says, if you invent a part that enters production, you share in the production. The cost is 0.088% of revenue on the coupling sleeve. The signal is 100%. The inventor matters. The royalty program extends to all employees. Any employee who designs or substantially improves a production part that enters full manufacturing receives a per-unit royalty of 1 cent for the first 5 years of production. The cost, estimated at $82,000 per year across all qualifying innovations. The return, an innovation pipeline that sources ideas from the people who operate the machines and who see the failures and who hold the dead parts and who know, from the hands up, what works and what doesn't and what could work better. The night shift produced the coupling sleeve. The night shift will produce the next one if the night shift knows that the next one carries the inventor's name and the inventor's royalty and the inventor's recognition. Night shift representation. A night shift delegate attends every weekly production meeting. The delegate rotates monthly among the senior operators. The delegate brings the night shift's observations, concerns, and ideas into the room where the decisions are made. The delegate is the appendix. The appendix brought to the table, the appendix read aloud, the truth that was hidden because nobody thought to look. Night shift compensation. The $1.80 differential becomes $4.50. The increase reflects the biological cost of circadian disruption, the health risks, the social isolation, the missed games and dinners and mornings. The cost across 167 night shift operators, $740,000. The cost of the night shift turnover, the 47% annual departure rate, the recruiting and training and quality disruption that turnover produces, $620,000. The differential increase costs $120,000 more than the turnover. But the differential keeps the veterans, the machinists with 21 years of experience, the machinists who invented the coupling sleeve, the machinists whose hands contain the company's future. Base wage increase, $22.40 becomes $28.75 for machinists with more than 10 years of experience. The raise applies to 63 operators across all shifts. The cost, $2.6 million. The cost reflects the value of experience, the specific, irreplaceable, hands-on knowledge that a veteran machinist carries and that no algorithm can replicate and that no new hire can approximate and that the company has been purchasing at $22.40 for 21 years while the products of that knowledge generate $135.9 million. One more thing. Denton holds up the coupling sleeve. This goes in the lobby, in a case, with Porter Ganaway's name on it, not the VP of Engineering's name, not the company's name, Porter Ganaway's name. The plaque reads, invented by Porter Ganaway, machinist, night shift, lathe 7, 2009. And every person who walks into this building, every customer, every visitor, every new hire, sees the name of the man who made the part that made the company, the machinist's name, in the lobby, where everyone reads it. 3 months later, the patent was corrected in 6 weeks. The petition was filed. The USPTO reviewed the evidence. Porter's original napkin design, the CNC program with his operator ID, the machine log from lathe 7 dated March 2009, the supervisor's report with Porter's name, and the amendment was granted. U.S. Patent number 8,714,563 now lists 2 inventors, Lloyd Briscoe and Porter Ganaway. Porter's name is on the patent. Porter's name is on the legal record. Porter's name is on the document that says, this person created this thing. The correction is not retroactive justice. 16 years cannot be uncorrected. But the correction is the record, and the record is now accurate, and accuracy is the minimum that a person deserves when the person invented the part that built the company. The first royalty check arrived 8 weeks after the meeting. $1,225, 1 month of coupling sleeve production at 1 cent per unit. Porter opened the check at his station, lathe 7, during the shift in the dark, at the machine where he invented the part that the check represents. $1,225. The amount is not wealth. The amount is recognition denominated in dollars, the financial acknowledgement that the part has a creator and the creator shares in the creation. Alden's first semester at Ohio State is paid for. The royalty, $14,700 annually, covers the gap that the family's surplus could not cover. The boy who wants to design parts will learn to design parts because his father invented a part and the company finally paid for the invention. The cycle continues. The father machines, the son designs. The family's contribution to precision manufacturing extends into the next generation, funded by 1 cent per unit on a 2-inch coupling sleeve. The night shift delegate attended the first production meeting on a Tuesday morning at 8 a.m., an hour after the night shift ended, a meeting that required the delegate to stay an additional hour, and the additional hour is paid, and the payment is the acknowledgement that the delegate's presence has value, and the value is worth the hour. The first delegate was Orrin Peltz, the night shift supervisor, the man who was in the room when Lloyd Briscoe claimed the invention, the man who said nothing because the distance between a supervisor and a VP was too great. Orrin's first contribution at the meeting, a process improvement on the grinding line that reduced cycle time by 9 seconds per part. 9 seconds multiplied by the production volume equals $340,000 in annual capacity. The improvement was in the appendix. Orrin brought it to the table. Porter still runs lathe 7. He still makes coupling sleeves, 1 every 4 minutes and 18 seconds, 112 per shift, 290,000 and counting. He still holds each one. He still measures each one. Each one is still perfect. But the toolbox is different now. The prototype is gone. The prototype is in the lobby. The prototype is in a case with a plaque that says, "Invented by Porter Ganaway, Machinist, Night Shift, Lathe 7, 2009. Every person who walks into the building sees it. Every customer, every visitor, every new hire, the machinist's name, in the lobby. The break room was renovated. New lighting. LED, no flicker, installed within 3 weeks of the board meeting. New tables, new chairs. The vending machines were replaced. The break was extended to 20 minutes, matching day shift. The changes cost $14,000. The changes told the night shift, 'We see you now.'" Hewitt's grinding wheel analysis was reviewed by engineering within 2 weeks. His data was correct. The new specification reduced wheel life by 30% and increased total cost by 22%. Procurement reversed the decision. Hewitt was paid a consulting fee of $2,500 for the analysis. Hewitt framed the check. Hewitt does not need $2,500. Hewitt needs the acknowledgement that his 27 years of grinding experience produces knowledge that procurement spreadsheets cannot produce. Ingrid's fixture was approved, built, and deployed within 6 weeks. The fixture saves 11 minutes per part, 1,467 hours per year. Ingrid received the first innovation royalty under the new program, 1 cent per part, $80 per year, a fraction of the savings. Ingrid does not care about the $80. Ingrid cares that her name is on the fixture drawing, and the fixture drawing is in the engineering database, and the engineering database is the record, and the record now includes the night shift. Alden started at Ohio State in the fall. Mechanical engineering. The tuition is covered. The royalty, the wage increase, the combination that closed the gap between $7,400 and $47,000. Alden calls Porter on Tuesday nights during the shift, during the 4 minutes and 18 seconds, during the cycle time, during the window that Porter used to fill with waiting and now fills with his son's voice, telling him about thermodynamics and material science and the properties of 4140 chromoly steel, the material that Porter has been cutting for 21 years and that his son is now learning to specify. The knowledge moving from the hands to the books and the books, back to the hands and the cycle, the real cycle, the human cycle, continuing. Porter's toolbox has a new item in the top drawer, the royalty check stub, the first one. $1,225, wrapped in the same shop rag that held the prototype for 16 years. The stub is the after. The prototype was the before. The distance between them is 16 years and 1 cent per part, and the entire difference between a company that takes from the dark and a company that sees in the dark. Denton visits the night shift. Not every night, not the way Boyd visited, not with the insomniac's frequency, but once a week. Tuesday nights. He walks the floor. He stops at the machines. He asks the question that Boyd used to ask, the question that is the simplest question and the most powerful question, and the question that the night shift had not heard from an executive in 7 years. What are you making tonight? The paperweight is back on Denton's desk, the steel cylinder with the chamfers and the bore. The first thing he ever machined. The paperweight sits next to the coupling sleeve. The two parts, the boy's first project and the company's most valuable product, sit side by side on the desk of the man who forgot that his father's hands and Porter's hands and his own hands were once the same kind of hands, the kind that hold the tool and cut the metal and make the part, and know, from the touch up, what the spreadsheet will never tell you. Thank you for watching this story. If it reminded you that the person who invented the thing deserves to have their name on the thing, share it. Subscribe to Untold Hearts for more stories about the people whose hands build what the world uses. Tell us in the comments, have you ever created something that someone else took credit for?